again, as I was just saying, Ariel and Kim were going to go out and ask people if they saw this couple that were not easy to forget because they were so disgustingly ugly. The little Weasley guy, even though it sounds like he wasn't as ugly as this fat woman that's missing all her teeth with pimples all over her face, but he had the quality of a rat. If you were doing a cartoon and you wanted a person to play the character of a rat, you had your man. He was rat-like. So they went out and they were going to ask around and also ask about people carrying this huge case. In fact, it turned out they weren't carrying it. What they learned is that it had wheels, because these big instruments usually do have wheels, and they were sort of pushing it and pulling it along the street. Meanwhile, Dove had gone in a totally different direction and was doing the same thing, asking around. He didn't have the earrings, so he couldn't go into pawn shops and ask about it. And he didn't have a picture. They gave that to Yehuda. And he was a little concerned that he sort of felt somewhat helpless. Well, just then, Yehuda comes walking down the street toward Dove. And Dove, he always was happy when he saw Yehuda. These two guys, they really loved each other. They were like the kind of friends that you make sometime and you never get a friend quite like that again. Or if you're lucky, you stay together. Sometimes people move away from each other. And Yehuda had a big smile on his face. And you remember he was the smart one. So he walks up to Dove, he says, "Here, take this." Where are you? There you are. Take this. And it wasn't a piece of paper. It was a copy of the picture. He went into a photo shop and he didn't have any money. But he somehow got the man to let him make a copy of the photo. Again, he must have used some kind of sign language, or maybe the guy spoke a little English. I wasn't there, so we don't know for sure how he did it. But he had a copy of the picture, and he gave it to Dove. He said, "Now we all have pictures." And it was a perfect copy. In fact, it was an enlargement. It made the picture bigger. It wasn't quite as clear, but had the right colors and everything was right, and it was bigger and perfectly good. So Dove was really pleased because he felt kind of left out that they all, that the other two got pictures and he didn't. And he felt like maybe, I guess what he felt is they thought I'm big and strong and stupid. So the smarter ones got the pictures and, big dope here didn't get one. That wasn't the case at all. Well, let's say it wasn't completely the case. It was more a matter of Kim had to have the picture. It was her friend. And Yehuda was clearly a sharp guy, so it made more sense for him to have the picture because you might say he could make better use of it. But it wasn't that they thought Dove was stupid, just that he wasn't as smart as Yehuda. But Yehuda was a good friend, and he thought it over and he realized that Dove might have felt badly about it. And so he made a copy and brought it to him. So now Dove had a picture, an enlarged picture, and he went around and sort of showing the picture and asking people. Unfortunately, he didn't know anything about what Kim had learned, Kim and Ariel. So he couldn't use it. But he went into a barber shop, and he thought, barbers usually they're always talking, they're always kind of gossiping, they learn things from people who are sitting in the chair, they get information, and they're very eager to talk. And in fact, they'll be let's see, where's my hands? They'll be cutting somebody's hair and at the same time talking to somebody. And usually they were so good at it, they didn't have to keep their eyes on the person's head. I don't know, you guys go to barbers, you probably noticed that. I haven't been to a barber since 1968. That is 41 years ago. That's before your dad was born. You know who gives me my haircuts? Grandma. Except when I get the short haircut like this, then I take the clippers and I go yoop, 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 yoop. I take off all my hair, so I don't need anybody to do it for me. But anyway, they go and they talk to the barber, and the barber speaks English. So Dove is really delighted. And he shows the barber the picture and says, "Have you seen this girl?" No, no. Have you seen anything unusual? Anything strange? The barber says, scratches his head a little. You know, I did see something strange. Dove said, what was that? What was that? Well, I don't think it has anything to do at all with your friend. But there are these two characters who hang around here sometimes. You see it once in a while. Geez, they are disgusting looking people. And usually they're just picking pockets, trying to get a free meal, picking up cigarette butts in the street to smoke it. These are low life. You know what I mean? He didn't say lower than whale shit because he didn't come from the Bronx. But he said these are low life. And what was odd was that they were pushing a large case, like for a musical instrument, like a harp or something. They were pushing it along the sidewalk. And seemed to be a little on the heavy side, although those harps can be very heavy. But what were they doing with a harp? I mean, I thought that was pretty weird. Well, Dove, he didn't know anything about what Kim knew, so he didn't know what to make of this. He didn't know whether it was significant. But he thought it's something to keep in mind. It's something that might be important. And he went out, and he kept his eye out. He asked for a description of the two people, and he got the same description that was given before. And he thought he'd keep his eye out for one or both of these characters. Just in case. Just in case. So he's walking along, and what does he see? Who does he see? We'll call him the Rat Man, or the Weasel. I think I like Rat better, although he had a weaselly quality. He sees a little man that fits the description of the Rat Man. He follows him. He doesn't say anything to him, but he says, it's the only lead I've got. It's the only thing I've learned that is different from anything ordinary. I think I'll follow him. So he started to follow him, but the Rat Man started turning around, checking to see if anyone was following him. And he may have been a little rat. He may have been a weasel, but he wasn't stupid. In fact, he was smart. Well, smart might be an overstatement. He wasn't stupid. And he realized he was being followed. And he figured that it was one of those kids. One of the four where they had kidnapped the girl and hidden her away. So, like a rat, he suddenly darted into a hole. He was a little guy, and I guess he had a way of squeezing himself down like a rat. And he suddenly disappeared into a space underneath a building, underneath the stairs to a building. And Dove ran over and looked underneath, but he couldn't do a thing because he couldn't get under, and he didn't know what to do. He ran all around the building, couldn't find the guy, but he realized that was suspicious. Why did the guy have to hide? Well, there are explanations. If you're walking down the street and someone starts following you, you might duck too. Dove, if you remember, was a kind of a muscular guy and built for action, and not the kind of guy you wanted to come up behind you, when you weren't looking. But it also is possible that Rat Man had something to hide, and Dove felt that this was something to keep in mind. And he wrote down the address of the building, and he knew he would come back there at some point to see what he could learn. Now, Yehuda, I think we're running out of time. So I will just say, in the next chapter I will pick up on Yehuda, and we will bring this story along, because I'm sure you care as much as I do that we find Hannah, and we find her soon, because we don't want her to be kept captive by two repugnant, disgusting, low-life, lower than whale